Hello, and welcome to CyFlare. Today we'll be going through a day in the life at the SOC here at CyFlare and what the team of SOC analysts here do for you as a partner or client with CyFlare. So starting with who is CyFlare? CyFlare is a 24/7 managed security operations center which provides platform and purpose-built to extend the capabilities of our partners and clients. So we use tools, people, and processes to enhance the security posture of our customers and ensure that we are monitoring your network, your security solutions, and keep you safe. A little bit more background. A company will often look for a security operations center to monitor their network. It becomes difficult with a lot of companies to have their internal team monitor their security with how much can be in scope. It often takes a team more than 10 people to have a 24/7 monitoring solution for your company. Therefore, that's where CyFlare comes in and is able to monitor your security solutions and manage everything in terms of security alerts and detections, issues, and more. To go through what is covered in that scope of what is handled by the SOC at CyFlare, this presentation is made to guide the viewers to see all of the responsibilities that your SOC analyst team will provide for the average organization. Starting with the managed tools, CyFlare has many different centers of excellence, as we call it. Centers of excellence are managed security solutions that CyFlare analysts have been fully trained, have previous customers with that managed solution, and are up to speed to manage those security solutions upon deployment. These types of security solutions include SIM tools, security information and event management, and then also endpoint solution tools or endpoint security, and finally vulnerability management solutions as well. On the right, you could see screenshots of logos from the different centers of excellence that CyFlare manages. And from there, all of the solutions that we manage for a certain customer are then all the information from those are gathered and sent to CyFlare's Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response Platform, or SOAR for short. The SOAR allows for content detections, alerts to be sent from any different solution for all of our customers into a single pane of glass for all of the analysts to work together amongst the CyFlare SOC team, triage alerts, do investigations, create tickets, and notify you on suspicious activity with many different options that assist in that performance. Analysts are able to investigate the details of a detection from one of these tools and then provide insight into what they find. So to speak on what a SOAR is capable of, here's an example of what the SOC analyst sees as far as a security detection from a SOAR. So as I mentioned before, any types of security detections from your managed solutions, whether it's a SIM tool, an endpoint tool, so on and so forth, are all sent to the SOAR as what we call a SOC case. In the SOC case, you'll have all the security detection details, indicators of compromise, SLA, and other details for the analyst who's investigating the activity to make an informed decision or disposition on the nature of what we're seeing from the tool. As you could see, some of the details in this example SOC case in the screenshot here are source and destination IP, the severity and type of alert, the analyst on the CyFlare team that claimed the case and is working on it end to end, the SLA timer, which only stops once the case is fully investigated, and much more, which we'll go through shortly. As you saw below in that same SOC case screen, there are two different checklists provided. This is what we call a CyFlare triage playbook. A CyFlare triage playbook provides a checklist of steps that each CyFlare analyst must follow to fully investigate the full scope of that security detection. In this case, we have a private to public exploit anomaly alert. This is essentially an IDS related detection in one of our SIM tools. Here you can see at the bottom of the SOC case for this alert, there are two checklists. One is an initial triage checklist that instructs the analyst that they must check for previous cases with the same detail, previous tickets where we've communicated the same activity with client, other checks and balances we do internally. And then following that, there's a unique playbook for every single detection with it that we monitor from each tool, which has specific steps to look for that specific detection. In this case, some of the main steps that must be followed are searching the destination IP, since it's a public IP, in open source threat intelligence tools, or doing some more research on the IDS signature identified in this detection to determine its impact. And then finally, doing some historical views on network traffic or related Windows events or endpoint traffic. All of these steps must be checked out and completed by the analyst to ensure a thorough investigation has been completed and is done for, insurance and security for the client. Furthermore, there are different options within the SOC case to then get additional details for analysts. One of these is the graphs and indicators section. In this section, there's integrated threat intelligence within the SOAR tool. Each SOC case has a section in it which takes out the main indicators of compromise from that alert and looks at the total number of SOC cases across all of our clients or just your particular environment and sees if there's any related cases for that indicator. For example, in the screenshot to our right, we see that there's a specific IP address and a reputation tied behind it. This IP address then is shown in all the other cases that SOC has triaged it in or has it involved in within the past 30 days. And we can easily go in and reference other cases and how those were investigated to provide some additional guidance and context into this new case. Results are graphed to illustrate the patterns, and there's many different types of graphs that we can use on all sorts of fields that are gathered from the actual alert. This can include public IP addresses, domains, file hashes, and much more. And then these can be used to fetch more details about its reputation from previous cases or threat intelligence. For threat intelligence, you could quickly view and summarize an indicator and its reputation because within the SOAR platform, public IPs or indicators within alerts are automatically searched against open source threat intelligence tools like VirusTotal or Abuse IP database and hybrid analysis. The public IPs, file hashes, and other indicators are then referenced from the results in those threat intelligence tools to determine the nature of that indicator, whether an IP is entered and searched in VirusTotal, and if the result is that that IP has a malicious reputation, the analyst has a quick insight into that and will provide that in their investigation to the customer. From here, we can also view more details as far as how that reputation was classified, by what specific threat intelligence source, and why it was classified. What was this file hash listed as malicious by 5 different threat intelligence tools? Was it listed as safe by one and malicious in another? These are all things that the CyFlare SOC analyst looks into while investigating the SOC case. And we have in a summarized view here. To accomplish this, CyFlare utilizes automation playbooks within the back end of the SOAR platform. CyFlare has pre-built automation developed within the tool to perform these actions, such as searching an indicator from an alert to open source threat intelligence automatically. These have been carefully developed on the back end extensively to perform these actions automatically and provide the results quickly to an analyst. Other information about a client's network, such as IPs, host names, and usernames, are collected from these alerts and can be used for other actions. Other actions for automation playbooks include making informed decisions or actions based on information we see from an alert. For example, if there's an alert that comes in as a SOC case in SOAR with an IP address that has been determined by the customer as a vulnerability scanner, for example, we can have that SOC case automatically close upon verification that that IP address observed was a vulnerability scanner. Furthermore, we can also have different options for auto ticketing on certain actions, whether it's an observation of a known malicious IP, automatically send a ticket and perform other actions such as so. For the customer knowledge base, this is where we gather all of that information as referenced before, as far as IP address context, information about your network and machines, information about users, information about services used in your organization, and applications. Here is what we call the customer knowledge base integrated into the SOAR, which enables an accurate SOC experience. The CKB is where all information related to your organization that is gathered from customer communication, tickets, calls, context provided upon your onboarding or deployment, and so on and so forth. Everything that you tell us is recorded into the customer knowledge base and used and referenced. For example, if you tell us a certain endpoint application is an authorized or known whitelisted application, we could store that type of information in the customer knowledge base so that moving forward, if we were to see that same service or application observed in an alert, the SOC would be able to distinguish that as a false positive because it's authorized activity in your environment. Now, we're going to talk about Gluebooks. Gluebooks is a CyFlare term for stitching your stack together, so to speak. A Gluebook is similar to the triage playbooks referenced before. However, making sure that we tie together all of the managed solutions or managed security tools in your stack and ensure that analysts investigate activity across every single thing we manage for you. Now, this is really important and a key value add for CyFlare, since many clients have multiple tools that are managed by CyFlare. Let's say a client has an endpoint solution such as SentinelOne and a SIM solution such as the Stellar Cyber Breach Detection System, or a SIM tool. From here, any alert gathered or observed from one tool triggers the analyst to make sure that they check against every tool in your stack. So automatically, a alert that comes into SOAR forces the analyst to check for related activity against any managed tool you have. This provides additional context that you wouldn't get if you were looking at one tool or investigating in one tool in particular. Let's say, for example, there's a security alert that is observed from the SIM tool. What happens then is the analyst performs their full investigation into that activity within the SIM tool, and then following which they'll do a full investigation into the separate managed endpoint tool to look for other related activity. This is because with multiple different managed solutions with various use cases and various methods of security monitoring, this allows for us to get the full and complete picture into the scope of a potential incident and ensuring everything that is managed is thoroughly investigated. We are able to use this and leverage any current tools that are managed in your stack or future security tools, as if you were to add a new SIM tool or add a new endpoint tool in the future, and be used here as well. Now to switch gears, after the analyst has a brief summary view from the SOAR of a security alert, they are then going to navigate into the actual managed solution for a deep dive into the activity itself. From here, the analyst will search for that alert and then find the key indicators from that alert, whether it's a username, an IP address, a file, and any other field gathered from it, and then follow those playbook steps to make sure we do a complete and thorough threat hunt onto that activity. Some examples of this include searching for historical analysis of a particular indicator, such as looking for a 7-day, 30-day, or even 24-hour trend into an IP address and its network connections, or a user and the events related to that user over the course of time. To break down the alert itself further, we have an example alert from the breach detection system. They're classified with different fields to determine how critical the alert itself is. Starting with fidelity. Fidelity is the confidence the platform, in this case, Stellar Cyber Breach Detection System, has in that detection. The higher that score, the higher the confidence that the platform's machine learning has that this is a malicious event. And this is between the scale of 1 and 99. Therefore, 50 is around the middle of the pack, and 99 is an absolute high fidelity, meaning very high confidence that this is indeed the type of incident that is being alerted on. Severity is the importance of this category of alert, meaning the type of use case, whether it's a exploit anomaly or a denial of service or a user brute force, depending on how critical that type of activity is and its scope and impact, the higher the impact potentially of that activity, the higher the severity score will be. And then finally, threat intel is the built-in threat intelligence tool in the SIM platform, which enables predetermined reputations on a public IP address or public indicator in this case. In the example alert we see in the screenshot to our right, the destination IP observed in this alert is a public IP, 23.227.144.50. And based on the threat intelligence, we see that it has a reputation of being a distributed denial of service target. Because of that, the threat intelligence score is high at 98, meaning that this has a high uh, potential threat intelligence score of being malicious. Taking the details from that alert, the SOC is then going to threat hunt on everything we saw and all the details such as the IP, when it came in, the usernames, other events, and take it across all of your managed data sources. So, for example, if we see a security event involving a user, we can look for related Windows events or Linux events if applicable. We can also look for related network traffic related for an IP address. We can also look for syslog traffic if you have an integrated syslog source like a firewall, and so on and so forth. What the main purpose of this is, indicators from an alert are searched against all available data sources and threat hunted till completion. In addition, the tool or platform also provides a threat hunting library with an overview of the main types of data sources and indicators that an analyst would have to investigate. Each box in the threat hunting library represents one detection method and shows you the different or the number of events that were triggered within that uh, detection method. For example, in the screenshot here, we could see there was 12,000 events related to Office 365 in this case. So this can be used to track against all of the different data sources in your environment to make sure that we cover all bases for something we observed in an alert. It's especially useful if a client is suspicious on certain activity, but may not have an alert triggered on it or many more details to provide us with. This gives us a head start and narrows our scope of investigation and enables a quicker investigation and disposition into a type of activity. Let's talk about tickets. So once the SOC has went through and investigated a case, there's two or more options that can be done. Once we've investigated a case, it could either fall into a false positive, and it's a known false positive, meaning it's benign behavior, it's an authorized behavior, it's known to the environment, it's a duplicate that already occurred, or it's a true positive or potential true positive, meaning we're either we know for a fact this is malicious, or the SOC is suspicious and we want to notify the customer to double check and ensure our insight. From here, if there is a potential true positive after investigation into an alert, the SOC will create a ticket that provides all of the information gathered from our investigation shown through the previous steps in this presentation, and then summarize all of that information into a ticket to show the customer what was done and what recommendations or actions need to be taken moving forward after its receipt. Tickets are all done through our secure ticketing platform and our knowledge base. Here, all tickets are sent to the customer through our platform, and the customer can also send tickets inbound to us to request information, have an additional investigation into activity that's concerning, or review the investigations that the analysts are sending to them. All information gained from the tickets and the communications back and forth between the CyFlare SOC and the customer are then stored for reference in the future. For example, if the client notifies us saying that a particular indicator within an alert, such as a software, is known and authorized by their organization, this will be used and stored for a decision such as potentially excluding that from future alerts or just a known advisory to the SOC to be aware of. The point is, everything that is communicated is stored for future reference and historical auditing purposes. To speak further on what you can expect from a ticket, we have an example ticket here. Here is a brute force user login failure ticket example, where after the analysts perform their triage and investigation steps, they determine that this behavior is an anomaly and they want to escalate it to the client. They'll provide the simple fields and indicators from the alert itself, and then also have investigation details into what was observed exactly. In this case, in the past 24 hours, there was 4,473 login failures involving this user from that IP address. And over the past 30 days, we've seen that this could be due to a bad username or misspelled or bad password. And then this is then sent to the client to review and work with CyFlare to resolve end to end until you are satisfied with the resolution of the ticket and activity observed. So you have a ticket and you get a ticket from the SOC. Now what? Each ticket should be sent on the occasion of something that's suspicious or malicious. And from a ticket, the customer should have a clear insight into what was observed from the SOC's investigation and what is recommended from their end as far as internal actions or steps to take to resolve. Communication is key in this case. If there's anything in the ticket that's unclear or you'd like additional information on, please request that in the form of a question back to the SOC. They'd be happy to help and further their investigation with additional things to search for based on items you'd like to see. For example, if this IP address observed in this alert is your vulnerability scanner and is authorized, stating this in the ticket to the SOC, who might not have that information, is critical because then we can use it moving forward when we see similar alerts involving that same IP address. Now, a quick tip as shown in the bottom right corner. If you see a ticket and it's not classified, if it's not a false positive, please respond immediately, especially if it's a critical security alert. This way, the SOC can have eyes on it and make sure that we remediate it as fast as possible in cooperation with your team. Now, congratulations. You've walked through what a day in the life of a SOC analyst and the SOC team does for your organization. You now have a 24/7, 365 security operations center watching your back. Please remember, someone is always available. Someone can always help you. You can always reach out to the SOC, whether it's a phone call, a ticket, or anything else, or your CSM for that matter. We will always have your back and cooperate as one cohesive team with your security in mind. We've got you covered. Thank you for participating in this presentation. Have a great rest of your day.